Attention, we're 1 minute away from. We will start out by having the invocation done by Pastor Paul Matthews of the Jubilee Baptist Church in Daphne. And after that, Jeb Ball will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Reverend.
Let's pray together. Our Father, today we are so thankful that we can live in this great land, and Lord, we're especially thankful today for the unique blessings that we enjoy here in Baldwin County. Lord, may we never take it for granted. And Lord, we also thank you just for the blessings of having those that are willing to serve, to sacrifice for others. We especially pray today and thank you for our commissioners and all those who serve Baldwin County on a daily basis. We thank you for their dedication. And we ask your blessing upon them and their families. And we just pray that you continue to use them for your purposes and your glory, that we might have a better county, one that is a greater blessing to each and every one of us, to Alabama as a whole and to the world. So thank you for this time. Thank you for this meeting. We ask your blessings and we ask for your wisdom. In Christ's name, amen.
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 Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, Wayne, if you would get us started on our agenda, please.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the meeting minutes. I do have a clarification, Mr. Chairman, to read regarding the meeting of June 1st, 2021. There was a misstatement as far as payment of the bills. The bill should have been $3,665,478.73. Just make that clarification. But we are recommending approval of the minutes for the June 1st, 2021 meeting with that one clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes of June 1st, 2021 program meeting, including the changes mentioned by our administrator.
All right, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as modified. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next we have three items under administration. We do have one we need to vote on separately. That is BA2. That is the resolution 2021-086 regarding the school tax election regarding the extra levy and the Robertsdale feeder pattern, I believe. Mr. Chairman, we are recommending BA1 and BA3 be approved, and then we'll do BA2 second. That's okay.
So moved.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve BA1 and BA3. Any further comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. All right, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next is BA2, the resolution. Staff recommends approval of that item.
Make a motion we approve BA2.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve item BA2. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next is Archives and History. We have one item, BC1. Staff recommends approval of item BC1.
Chairman, I make a motion we approve item number BC1.
All right, we've got a motion. And we have a motion and a second to approve item BC1. Any further comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next is the BRATS. We have one item under BRATS, BD1. Staff recommends approval of that item.
So moved.
All right, we've got a motion on BD1. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second on item BD1 dealing with the BRATS system. Any further comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next we have the budget and purchasing items. We have BE1 through BE7. Staff recommends approval of those 7 items.
Chairman, I make a motion we approve items number BE1 through BE7 for budgeting and purchasing.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the budget and purchasing items BE1 through BE7. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, next is Finance and Accounting. We have one item, BM1. Staff recommends approval of item BM1.
So moved.
We've got a motion on item BM1 and a second. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, next are the highway items. Based on the discussion yesterday at the work session, county engineer asked to pull item BN3, so staff has recommended that be pulled. We are recommending approval of BN1, BN2, and BN4.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve BN1, BN2, and BN4.
All right, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a couple of seconds. That's okay. Any further comment or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pass unanimously. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next are personnel items. As we discussed yesterday, we do have a replacement item on BQ1, which is included in your packet this morning. But we do have 9 items. Staff recommends approval of BQ1 through BQ9.
So moved.
All right, we've got a motion to approve BQ1 through BQ9. Do we have a second?
I'll make a second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second on these items. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right.
Mr. Chairman, next are the planning and zoning items. We have 3 of those, BR1 through BR3. Staff recommends approval of those 3 items.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we've got a motion to approve BR1 through 2 and 3. I need a second.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the planning and zoning BR1 through BR3. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next are the public hearings. We have 2 public hearings this morning. The first public hearing is regarding an alcohol license application for the Lucky Dog, doing business as the Lillian Front Porch. It's case number LV-202101. Mr. Chairman, we need to open the public hearing.
Yes, sir. We now open the public hearing on case LV-202101, alcohol license application for Lucky Dog LLC, doing business as Lillian Front Porch. Yes, sir. If you would, please identify yourself and limit
my name's,
3 minutes comments, please.
My name's John Barbado. I'm the proprietor at the Lillian's Front Porch, and nice little restaurant in Lillian, and just applying for a liquor license.
Okay. You'd be available to answer any questions if anybody has them, I presume?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do we have any questions or discussions?
All the items been submitted? Okay.
So paperwork's in good order? Right. Very good. Very good. Any questions? All right. Do you want to make a statement other than identifying yourself, which is fine? You don't have to.
I'm good.
All right. Very good. Any other comments? Anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this particular item? Welcome you to come forward and state your name and tell us what's on your mind and on your heart. Seeing no one asking for that, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve case number LV-202101, the alcohol license application for Lucky Dog LLC, doing business as Lillian Front Porch.
Mr. Chairman, just for record clarification, I want to make sure we get those numbers right, 202101.
Yes. All right. So we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve case LV-202101. Any further comments or discussions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes, sir. It's approved. Thank you much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the next public hearing is regarding an appeal. Mr. Chairman, if I could, can I read the speaking request requirements first, Mr. Chairman? The
Yes,
commission
please do.
adopted rules for speaking. I want to read those to the public just so we're all aware of what those rules are. All individuals wishing to address the commission must fill out a speaking request form, which we have in the back, and we can hand one to you if you need. No person may address the commission without first obtaining a recognition from the commission chairman and will be allowed to speak up to 3 minutes. Groups are asked to select a spokesperson to speak on behalf of the group, with time allotted to the spokesperson being limited to 5 minutes. Additional time may be allocated for the speaker at the discretion of the chairman. The chairman may open the floor for public comments at any time, his or her discretion, but is not obligated to open the floor to individuals who have not signed up to speak. Verbal comments or interruptions from the floor will not be allowed. Direct your comments to the chairman and use proper etiquette when addressing the commission. Speakers shall be required to speak from the podium equipped with a microphone and will be expected to state their names and address for the record at the onset of their presentation. Personal attacks on elected officials, appointed officials, employees, and other individuals will not be allowed or tolerated. If such unacceptable behavior is engaged, the speaker may be asked by the chairman to cease and desist and/or may be directed to depart the meeting.
All right, very good. Let me also point out that our protocol and procedures, the chairman is not permitted to make a motion or second a motion, but is allowed to vote on any action. So that's oftentimes not, most citizens are not aware of that unless they've dealt with this before. And as you know, we rotate the chairmanship. This year happens to be mine. So with that being said, let's open the public hearing dealing with case S-21047 Blackwater Farm subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm going to begin with a very, very brief preamble. So we're basically taking on the role of the Planning Commission here. So I'll present the case as if it was presenting it to the Planning Commission and try to move through the basic information very quickly so that way we can reserve as much time to answer questions and to go into whatever detail the County Commission wishes to in asking questions.
Sure.
So I have quite a number of slides that are supporting information that we can go back to if we need. Any slide we have in here we can certainly return to answer questions. And so, Commissioners, as you heard, this is S-21047 Blackwater Farms, and so that is a subdivision case that was denied by the Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Commission on May 6th of this year. You have your locator map on screen. We will zoom in and provide an aerial image, and as you can see on screen, this subject property is located on the east side of County Road 85, about 1/4 mile south of US Highway 90. This is in the Elsinore community near Robertsdale. There are 2 zonings on this property. We'll show those on a future map. Here's your zoning map. You will see a zoomed in image of this in a slide here in just a moment, but just to go over the property, the request is for 5 lots. They're approximately 19.06 total acres, as you see right there. You see the lot breakdown that lots 2, 3, and 4 are the same size, about 1.6 acres. Lot 1 is 1.63 acres. There's also a 5th lot of 12.62 acres. You see the utility providers on screen. This is the same map, Commissioners. We just removed the legend so it would be easier to see all of the other zoning districts around here. Of course, District 12 is zoned, and you'll see the RA to RSF1 property rezoned, marked in yellow. We'll zoom in on that here in a moment. This is the plat of the property. You see the 4 lots are on the west side. The larger lot 5 is on the east side. Mr. Chairman, you have a hard copy of the plat as well on the dais if the commissioners need it as well. What we'll do here, Commissioners, there's several, I'll try to address it briefly and then we can go back to it as we need to. There are quite a number of issues brought up during the public hearings and also addressed with staff. What I'll try to do here is just touch on some of those issues here to maybe answer some questions by presentation. Obviously, there was an area that was rezoned using the automatic rezoning provision. The sample letter you see right here was when that zoning was approved in December of last year. Also, what you see on screen is the section out of the zoning ordinance that allows those automatic rezonings for agricultural type properties. As I mentioned earlier, we're zooming in on the property so you can see, and you see that the request is the green area, of course, is still would still remain RA, and it's this current zoning, would be RA, and that is what we call, the nickname we have for that in planning and zoning is a flag lot. The western portion was rezoned to RSF1, as you saw previously. The balloon call-out actually gives the legal description that was requested to rezone to RSF1. You'll notice the property to the north there had a similar request approved in prior years. So a similar arrangement, the automatic rezoning. Also, one of the issues that was brought up with staff was drainage, and Mr. David Schumer is the engineer of record for the project. He's with us here today, can answer specific questions. What I'll just mention in brief is that we have a contour map here. It may be a little difficult to see. I'll just tell you verbally that at the edge of right-of-way, the elevation is about 140 feet on this property. It rises to about 155 to 158 in the center. So there's basically a center ridge. Mr. Schumer accounted for that in his drainage calculations. What you see here, this is an excerpt of the drainage report that he prepared. The full report was placed in your package, was placed in the agenda package that was published online. But essentially, he's indicating here that no increase in runoff is anticipated, and you'll see it has Mr. Schumer's PE stamp on here. This is just an excerpt of our email correspondence with Baldwin County Highway Department. Our great colleagues at Baldwin County Highway Department reviewed this case. And one of the things that they noted is that any additional land use changes would require to be reviewed if there's an additional runoff. But they did review and approve the drainage narrative submitted with this case. Commissioners, I'll touch on this very briefly. We can certainly return to it. One of the other questions that was asked of staff about what are the re-subdivision possibilities. And just in brief, in lots 1 through 4, as well as lot 5, there certainly are re-subdivision possibilities. It's a bit more challenging on lots 1 through 4 because of the lot size. It's a bit less challenging on lot 5 because it's a bit larger in 12.62 acres. What I would say in both cases, and I'll just kind of read briefly the paragraph at the bottom, there are numerous possibilities for re-subdivision, but many of those scenarios may require a zoning change and also possibly installation of additional infrastructure. That could be curb and gutter, sidewalks, and so forth. Just to remind staff and commissioners and public, any zoning changes, of course, would go through, any zoning changes are approved by the Baldwin County Commission, this commission, and must have a public hearing. Any subdivision cases, including re-subdivision, are considered by the Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Commission. That also includes a public hearing. So any re-subdivision, any zoning change will come back to the appropriate bodies and go through the public hearings. Commissioners, the staff recommendation at the May 6th Planning Commission meeting was approval. No deficiencies were found. So staff reviewed it based upon its technical merit, found no deficiencies, recommended approval. It was denied by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Today's recommendation, essentially the County Commission has 3 options. Affirm the decision of the Planning Commission, reverse the decision of the Planning Commission, and we put it on here for completeness sake, but modified the decision of the Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Commission. Not necessarily relevant in this case because there were really no conditions of approval or other conditions imposed upon it, but for completeness sake, we furnished that last statement here. Commissioners, I'll leave you with the plat on screen and also reiterate behind this slide, I have several other supporting documents we can use to answer questions as we go through the public hearing. But Commissioners, I'm happy to answer questions based upon staff, and as I said, Mr. Schumer is the engineer of record. He's here and can answer questions on behalf of the applicant.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions at this point?
I've got a question for Buford.
All right.
Buford, can you explain to me why the Planning Commission decided to vote against this?
And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, there is in the meeting minutes, and I'm going to recite the meeting minutes from memory. The statement that was provided during the Planning Commission meeting was that the Planning Commissioners saw that the adjoining property owners who spoke at the public hearing were uncomfortable with the development.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments at this point?
The flag lot, we're creating a flag lot, and I thought we were trying to do away with doing flag lots, at one time. Because all it does is create, something for later on, And that looks like on that map, it looks like it's actually made for development later on with a roadway going in there, what it looked like.
And Mr. Chairman, that's a great question. And at this time, and I'm going to flip back to the plat right here. At this time, currently, there's no prohibition against flag lots in the subdivision regulations. It remains a defined term in both the zoning ordinance and the subdivision regulations. But Mr. Chairman, I'll take the liberty to address this. It's difficult for you to see on screen, but you'll notice a flag lot must have a corridor that connects to a right-of-way or other access point. What you cannot see, but you can see on the hard copy of the plat, is the corridor width, and I don't have, you can't see my pointer extremely well. That area right there is 60 feet wide, so it provides adequate space for a future right-of-way should one be constructed. That allows adequate space for travel lanes, utilities, and so forth.
All right, any other questions or comments at this point? If not, please stand by. We may need to call you back up later, if that's all right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Wayne, do we have people signed up to speak on this topic,
Mr.
please?
Chairman, we have several people signed up to speak. The first person is John Barato. John Barato.
There's someone coming in.
Move to the next part. Mr. Chairman, before we get, and also we have a phone that somebody lost. If you've lost your phone,
Double check.
got it right here before y'all leave. Next person signed up is David Schumer. Thank you. No problem. Glad to help. David Schumer. Oh, good.
Oh, all right, good. Now David has his phone, so he's ready to go, right?
Some days I wish I could lose my phone.
Same here.
I'm David Schumer, 3213 Midtown Park, South in Mobile, 36606. I am the applicant representing the owner on this project. And to address one of your questions, the flag lot, the 60-foot wide was what was required at some point in the past. It was a comment from a previous staff member that has moved on to the highway department to use a minimum of 60 foot as a flag just for access and for frontage width that they would like and prefer. And so that's why we held the 60 feet wide. I'm sure the owner would have rather gone smaller and widened those fronter lots, but that's how we held it. This was denied. The statement from the Planning Commission member was that the neighbors didn't want it and that we're here because we don't feel that's a bona fide reason. The county sets forth regulations to protect the area and surrounding areas, and we met all of those regulations and criteria when it comes to zoning and development infrastructure. There's no infrastructure proposed for this project. The only construction would be for single-family houses, or in the rear, it's rural agricultural, so they could put a single-family house, or they could continue to farm it, which is currently is farmland. The drainage does show that this is a net wash or maybe a slight decrease because farmland is mostly dirt, which it doesn't take but a 1/4 inch of rainfall to saturate the ground and create a lot of runoff. This is switching to residential, which most people have, lawns and landscaping that are much better at absorbing and catching runoff and water, that more than compensate for the size of a house. That can be built on these. These are 1.6 acre lots, so they're large lots, so that it's going to be not very dense development. It's just going to be a house on 1.6 acres, and that was how the runoff turned. It's hard for me to defend the design when the county approved it. Everything was approved. This is the first recommended for approval project that I've ever had that was denied, and so it's, we're just trying to push forward. This is a fast-growing area of Baldwin County. Baldwin Beach Express is not far from this at all, and a lot of people are trying to move in this area. It's quick access to the beach, quick access to Pensacola, quick access to Mobile and Spanish Fort and Daphne. It's a growing area, and I understand the neighbors' concerns of, we bought it, we don't want it to change, but they don't have the interest and the ownership of the property, and as long as we abide by the county's requirements and regulations, we feel that this is a viable project and needed for Baldwin County for future residents.
All right, any questions or comments to our presenter? If you would stand by, we may need to have you discuss items later, if possible. Thank you very much. All right, yes, Wayne, who else do we have coming up?
Mr. Chairman, the next speaker is Blake Harrison.
I'd like to reserve my right to the end of the group, if possible, or the group that's together, if possible.
Okay.
That sounds fine. All right.
Mr. Chairman, next person is B.J. Blanchard.
All right, Mr. Blanchard. What we do ask is that if someone makes statements that essentially cover your point of view, let's don't, totally replicate that. If we add something new, that's what we're trying to do, is grow a knowledge base, okay? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is B.J. Blanchard, and I'm the owner-developer, hired Mr. Schumer, who's I've had numerous occasions work for me and approved 8 or 9 subdivisions subdivided in Baldwin County. I currently have 4 projects ongoing, 2 of which is very, very similar to this, where we had a rural agriculture zoning and we changed it to RSF1 with no problem whatsoever. One very similar, I actually purchased it from the lady on the south of me, and all of her land was to the north, and subdivided into 4 lots and went through the same exact format, got approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission from RA to RSF1. I don't know if you people have received the package I sent to each individual member. I had it hand delivered up here Tuesday, explaining some circumstances that has taken place from the time I bought it.
To my colleagues, do y'all recall seeing this? It may be in my office in Fairhope, possibly.
No, sir. We hand delivered them here by my secretary and gave one to the Planning and Zoning, and we forwarded one to the engineer that just spoke.
Okay.
I have a copy of it here.
Certainly.
May I submit it to you?
Oh, certainly. Please do. We'll make sure it's part of the official record. Thank you, sir.
First of all, again, thank you for having time to spend with us today. We got 100% approved from the Planning and Zoning from RA to RSF1. In there, you'll find a letter from my real estate agent, Mrs. Jill Campbell, who I purchased the property from. The gentleman that owned the property north of me, Mr. Roman Bonner. On the map, you'll see in the top left-hand corner, if you could possibly put the yellow, I would appreciate it. Yes, sir, on the top of the screen, you see a small square yellow spot. Mr. Bonner owns all that land, did own all that property, straight to Highway 90, which is straight up to the top. In 2019, he subdivided from RA to RSF1, that small yellow square, and sold it to a gentleman that joins my property. During the course of that last meeting, I was accused possibly of my runoff causing his driveway to erode. His driveway is on the upper side, which is the north side of his property. All of that land runs, there is approximately a 20-foot drop from Highway 90 to the 2 26-inch culverts that run under 85 and go due west. There's no way on God's green earth that I could anyway affect his driveway. His driveway is on the north side towards 90. That was one of the accusations made at the last meeting. Another accusation made in there, you'll find there, Mr. Bonner personally attacked me during the meeting, stating that I live in Birmingham, all I do is come down here and make money and leave. I have been a resident on 6 different occasions in Baldwin County. I have 8 full-time people working for me with my full-time office in Baldwin County. I have a beautiful home that I built on Seacliff Drive in Fairhope about 4 years ago. I have had a residence and have lived in Baldwin County my whole life of living in Alabama. I have over 100 personal pieces of property that I pay taxes on in Baldwin County. I work full-time either through my office or with my home in Birmingham. I employ currently 4 subcontractors in Baldwin County. I give all my work to Baldwin County contractors. I live here. I pay my taxes. I work very hard. Mr. Bonner attacked me as hitting this area and taking money to Birmingham. Well, that's so untrue, it's unbelievable. You'll find that letter in there from that real estate agent stating how upset Mr. Roman Bonner was when I purchased the land, because he said he had a chance to buy it and did not buy it because he said it was too expensive. The real estate agent went back to him. We went through everything with Mr. Schumer. We got approved for reasons unbeknown to me. We got shot down because the neighbors didn't want it. Speaking with myself and my attorney, Mr. Larry Sutley, we feel unequivocally that is not reason for denial. I have no plans on subdividing that property any more than what you see now. The 4 lots on the front are going to be 4 lots that will be put up for sale. The rural agriculture land in the back is going to be put up for sale, not for a subdivision, not for dividing it into however many lots once you pay an enormous price for curb and gutter. That's ridiculous. No one's going to go back on that back land and pay curb and gutter and pay road to divide 12 acres. And if they do, I will promise you I will not allow it. That will be in the contract when I put it up for sale and find a buyer. I appreciate your time and thank you. And I do have some signs you'll see in that letter that was put up by, after we got RSF1 zoning, these signs were put up on both sides of my property. And the gentleman who may or may not have put them up is sitting in the courthouse. And that was after I had RSF1. It was nailed, one on the north side of my property and one on the south. And actually the one on the north was about 8 inches on my land. Nailed on the 2 property points with flags saying that this land, if you read the letter from the real estate agent, you'll see what Mr. Bonner told the real estate agent.
Do we have copies of the letters that he's talking about, that he hand-delivered to us? They're in the packet?
My wife is a retired English teacher, and I would love for her to maybe double-check some of the spelling of this, but I think it...
Will I take that off your desk?
Yes, sir, please. But thanks for sharing that with us.
Again, thank you, and if I would have a chance to speak after Mr. Bonner speaks, I'd very much appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
If you're be available to come back
Yes, sir.
as we need.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the dais at this point? All right. If not, thank you very much. Yes, sir, Mr. Dias.
Mr. Chairman, the next speaker is James Horak.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
My name is James Hobart. I border the property on the south side, the 10 acres that joins the east side of his property. I've been living there in this part of the country all my life. And the map you see there that was pertaining to the 4 lots, it's not the way it looks on a map and the way it is. Where it is, the property thank you. The southeast of this property probably drops from the middle of the second lot down to the corner, probably drops 15 foot. It's a very steep drop. The only thing that's holding it together right now is it's in timber. He plans to put this lot there and clear this timber off, which is going to cause a whole lot more trouble than it is now. I'm not concerned about the back, what he's talking about, because it is worse in the back than it is in the front, as far as dropping. But this land is not suitable for what he is trying to do. I don't know what he's got in mind, is just coming in and doing something and then get out and not worry about the people that live here. We had 25 people sign up that did not approve this project, and Mr. Bonner has the list. I'm highly disappointed in what he's trying to do and trying to do to our neighborhood. If there's, I know we had 2 meetings, and both times they were denied. And I can see why, after you see all the evidence of what he's trying to do. I'm highly against it. Our neighbors are against it. We think it'll downgrade our property. And Baldwin County is growing like he said it's growing. We need the council to approve real good subdivisions, not fly-by-night things like we got right here. This man will build this, he's gone. He's not worried about what happens after. He's not concerned about any people living around, and especially me and all my neighbors. I ask you in good faith to deny this subdivision, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you very much. Yes, sir, Mr. Dice.
Mr. Chairman, next person to speak is Roman Bonner.
I've lived in the rural community most of my life. My grandparents cleared that land after World War II. He worked, my grandfather worked at a shipyard during World War II and cleared the property there to farm. He worked nights at the shipyard to pay for the land, and then he worked during the day clearing the timber to clear it so he could start farming. And they truck farmed to, big thing was sweet corn up to Birmingham. He said we always got to beat Chilton County, because when Chilton County comes, you won't sell no sweet corn in Birmingham. This is an aerial photo my cousin flew over. He was trying to catch me planting corn, but it shows the whole property here in a pretty wide view. These are where the lots are going. Lot 1 starts over here in these woods. I'm sorry. Lot 1 starts over here in these woods, and it comes to Lot 4 to their easement. Can you see the grade right here? That's steep. There's 4 terraces coming up here. It's Pismo sand. I mean, it's beach sand. It'll wash. It's even, that's a sand bed right there. It's got a 4-foot gully through the middle of those woods. I mean, it crowns over here and it goes down that way. It goes toward Jimmy Hobart's. This waterway goes all the way down under Highway 90. So if it's built up right here, it's going to affect my livelihood. Vegetables don't take water very well. I'm a vegetable milling farmer, and I sell a lot of produce right there. And when this was sold, my cousin was renting that and farming it, and that's what he was doing here. I sold a 1-acre lot right here where I quit farming because it was washed out right there to my neighbor. I did not build a subdivision. I did not come up here and ask for a subdivision. I did 1-acre RSF1. Everything else is the same as it was. This picture was took 4 years ago. And we also planted, I got tree movers to come, and he took pine trees from my property over here, and we put 10, 12-foot pine trees all up that waterway to protect the property. I'm a good steward of the land. I care about the land in Baldwin County. I care about everybody in Baldwin County. And let's do things right. I oppose this. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any questions or comments? If I could, relative to your crops, will the proposed runoff cause you detrimental effect on your production?
He could if if he builds that up, the water, as you can see, the water. It's a crown here. You can't see the crown real good, but you can see the waterway here.
Yeah.
Where I can't farm right here. All this goes down toward Highway 9.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from us?
I do have a question for Mr. Bonner. You said that it was being farmed. Who owned? So it had been leased as farming land for like a long time?
Pilinski Farms farmed it before me.
Okay. And then,
my grandfather, in 1973, my dad kind of left the farm. He kind of got burnt out because my grandfather got sick and they made him quit. He couldn't graduate school. He had to work the farm, and and he left the farm, and my grandfather retired in 73, and Pilinski Brothers farmed that land until my dad was taking care of my grandmother, and I was a store director for Winn-Dixie, and I had to take care of them. And in 2010, I started farming bits and pieces, and I finally took over the whole thing.
In the general vicinity of that area, I know that there's a lot of parcels that are owned, but they're leased out for farming operations.
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess my question would be that the owners of this property obviously sold this property recently to...
Yes, November 18th, yes.
Maybe? Okay, but it had been leased out as a farming operation for
Yes,
a long,
Bruce
long
Barnard
time.
leased that 20 acres before that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other questions or comments at this point? Thank you, sir. Mr. Dykes.
Mr. Chairman, the last speaker we have is Blake Harrison.
All right.
My name is Blake Harrison, and I've been a resident of Highway 85 my whole life. I've lived in 5 different houses on this said 1 mile road. I understand what Mr. King is telling you about this property is this only got this and it's all been approved, and that's all fine and good. It has been approved. But this county has a ton of problems with water from subdivisions that have been approved by engineers. In everyone's district here, there's problems with water because water is undefeated. You can't tell water what to do, it's going to do what it wants to do. And his engineer can say this property is not going to flood, but if you look at that piece of property right there, when they tear them trees out, it's going to flood worse. I don't think he's trying to do a bad thing. He's trying to make money. That's all he's doing. He's going to sell this property and be out of it. And he's not going to be responsible for what happens afterwards. So he's going to sell this property to single family homes, young kids that can afford this, or young families, and then they're going to buy it, and then Mr. Forrester, who is next to him, is going to have a lawsuit against them. So we're asking you to protect both parties, all 30 of us homeowners around that are against this, and the people that are going to buy this property, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be left holding the bag. They're going to sign their name, and they're going to be responsible for the drain off of this property. When this meeting started, we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and in it we said, justice for all. It doesn't say justice for developers. It doesn't say justice for politicians. It says justice for all. And that's all we're asking for. We're all asking for justice for us, the homeowners, the people that are around that have worked, paid their property taxes. I heard Mr. Blanchard say it 3 or 4 times. He pays a lot of taxes. I'm sure he does, but the 30 of us homeowners around him pay a lot of taxes too, and are doing it a long time too. We're homeowners that want to protect our property. And what this scheme of things is not showing us what it's going to do to our properties. It's going to flood our properties. It's going to hurt the property that the people that he's building on there. It's going to hurt everyone around. This benefits nobody but him. Nobody. I don't think any of us believe that you can make enough money off of 4 lots to buy 19 acres and just let the last 12 acres go. I mean, I live in a mythical world sometimes, but I don't believe that. I mean, it's not going to happen. You think he really can make enough money off of 4 lots? I mean, to buy 19 acres and make enough off 4 1-acre lots? It's not going to happen. So there's more to this story than being told. And that's what we're asking for you to see. The Planning and Zoning Commission saw through this twice. Not once did we go up there and they say, oh yeah, he wins. No, it was twice that they said no because they seen the farce of what this was. It's a farce. And Baldwin County has been letting these developers do this for too long. We need to go back to what Baldwin County was and why everybody wants to move here because of what we are. We don't need to turn into what everybody else is. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any comments or questions from the dais? All right.
I got one question.
Yes.
The property right now has got some, I understood it's got some terraces in it?
Yes, sir. It has 4 terraces on it that the previous farmer put on there because if he would not have his last 30 or 40 foot of field down there. He would have just wasted planting. So he put terraces on that run north and south. Just like his terraces run north, his crops run north and south to stop the drainage. As you can see from Mr. Bonner's photo, the rows run north and south. Mr. Schumer states that when they put grass on it, that it's going to be different. Well, I kind of disagree with him because them crops are usually 4 to 6 inches, the rows are 4 to 6 inches deep. That deters a lot of water. That's what's saving the property at the bottom now, is the farmer was smart enough to know this and had lost enough money to know this. And there's trees in the back of it where the farmer has left, squared in probably an acre or 2 in the back. And he's losing that area to farm, but he's protecting that 1 acre because he knows the drainage in the back is so bad that if he don't leave those trees in the back, it's going to wash his crops away. I mean, it's simple. I mean, it's not that complicated.
Right. Any other questions or comments from us? Mr. Dice, do we have others to speak?
No, sir, we don't. That's all the speakers we have.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience that did not get to speak? Yes, I'll call on you in a second. The gentleman in the green shirt, you raised your hands at one point. Would you like to speak?
My name is...
And do recall that this is being filmed and people will watch this when they run out of other things to watch or because they're interested, either way.
My name is William Forrester, and I live at 23090 County Road 85 South. I'm just to the south and the west part of his land, the very corner, right under all of those pieces there. I question this because the first time we met, they had a different setup of lots. It was not this same one, and they told us that setup was done in-house. When they came back for this second set, it was changed to this with that access point up on the northern edge up there. I don't understand. I mean, I'm not against anybody from doing things, but this is leaving questions with me of how are they rezoning this without the rezoning board's approval? Because the first one showed lots that were adjacent to the northern part of that. And they come back for the second term. And my other part of the question is he's asking for a subdivision development when the subdivision zoning was denied in our first meeting. Now, it was a different property number or S number. It was 005 instead of 47. These things are, when I look at them, I see that somebody's playing with this stuff and trying to push this issue. I don't like that for the county. I don't like it for us. They've talked about the trees in the corner. Yes, that he cuts those trees or anybody else cuts those trees down, that's flooding right into my land. And these are questions I've had about this. And since nobody else brought them up, I thought I would.
Certainly. All right. Any questions or comments? All right. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen that have spoken before, you raise your hand. If you would, step up here if you've got something to add.
Chairman, I didn't get to see these signs this man held up. Is there any way I can see them?
Oh, sure. I would imagine we can make that available. Is that relevant to something you're going to share with us now, or is that just your curiosity?
Can you open them up where I can see them?
Put them up here. Put them up here, and then he can step up.
This was posted on both sides of my property, on the north and the south. After getting RA approved to RSF1,
These signs represent, at the time he put them up, that's what this represented. I mean, it's nothing against him.
Do you know whose signs these are?
Sir?
Do you know whose signs these are?
No, sir.
I don't either, and unless you've got another point about them, they've been entered as evidence, so to speak. Have you got anything new you want to add to the discussion?
I don't know who put these signs up. I don't know if anybody here put them up. So it's just a question to me. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, Mr. Dice, anything else we need to, anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, just if the public hearing's over, need to close the public hearing if we're finished with the public comments.
All right. Mr. Schumer. Yes, sir, please.
I was just going to address some of the statements.
All right.
I don't ever like to say I'm the engineer or whatever, but, there are a lot of people that just look at a hill and just assume that they know what's going to happen. I'm using the math that was established by Baldwin County as regulations to follow. If you go by any sod farm in Baldwin County after a rain, you'll see standing water in the areas where they've harvested, and it's not where they haven't harvested. Dirt areas create more runoff. Mr. Bonner's property is uphill of this property, so this water does not affect him at all or his farmland at all. It's been farmland. I understand everybody wants nothing to change. I've been to countless planning meetings where people are against something because it's change. This location is about a mile from Baldwin Beach Express, which is generating a lot more traffic and a lot more growth. It's 1.6 acres. You don't have to clear every tree on 1.6 acres to build a house. So talking about clearing land to build a house, the people who are going to build houses on these properties don't want erosion either. They're not going to change any grading. They're not going to change any terraces. They're not going to change anything because they don't want, they want a nice yard or a nice house as well. 1.6 acres is a lot of area to put a 2,000 or 3,000 square foot house is a big house, and you're talking 1.6 acres is, 60,000 square feet plus. It's Baldwin County's growing. The owner is just trying to work in the county and help and find good land. This isn't there's no infrastructure associated with this development. I'm appreciative that some of the residents are concerned with his financial well-being and whether he's going to make money or not. But as soon as if it is approved, they would be for sale. And every owner here would have the opportunity to buy any of these lots. There's not really feasible to subdivide it any further. That's the reason that we're going with this style subdivision.
All right.
So,
okay.
And I think that was,
all right.
That's everything I had.
All right. Thank you very much. Anybody else that would like to comment? Yes, sir. Quickly and briefly. And if this is a new point, it would be helpful. If it's
Very
reiterating
short,
what we've
sir.
been saying, it's
In reference to the southern lot that joins this gentleman, please understand the fact that the land dropped from Highway 90 to where the two large culverts, which are 30 inches in diameter, go under Highway 85. All the land runs north to south. This gentleman that's got up and spoke that says he borders my land is on his north side, has got about a 18-inch culvert under his driveway that is about half full with silt sand runoff, and it's surely not from my land. Mr. Bonner's property, roads run north and south. When it rains, all the sand and silt runs from Mr. Bonner's property towards mine, which has grass this high. The water does run to a trough on the south lot adjacent to this gentleman's lot. He said I was going to go in there and tear all the trees up. I have no intentions of tearing all the trees up and making the condition worse. If there ever becomes a problem of water drainage, it's because you've got an 18-inch pipe in front of his house that's feeding two 34 to 36-inch pipes that go under Highway 85 that drops off going west another 15 foot. So all the water runs due south through the land, gets to that one piece of property that has trees. My other three lots has no trees whatsoever. That one lot on the south side has trees. I will work very cautiously. I can sell that lot, leave the trees, and still have enough room to place a home and not affect any of the drainage west of the so-called trough that runs through my lot number 1.
all right. Thank you, sir. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we close the public hearing.
I have a question for staff.
All right.
I'm not exactly sure if Buford, if you can answer this, or if we need engineer to answer this, but there's been some discussions about regional detention in our area, and it sounds like to me that I want to know if we're looking at, from an engineering standpoint on this subdivision, just the surrounding property owners, or if there's a regional see at this, or if we're not required yet to do the regional, but just curious as to if there's a regional look at this.
And Chairman, Commissioners, that is not currently contemplated by the subdivision regulations.
Okay, then you've answered my question.
Yes, ma'am.
So that means it is only looked at adjacent property owners in particular?
Well, and probably the engineer of record could probably better comment on the formulation of his drainage design.
Okay, I'm not trying to make you answer that particular question, but I just know that as a not an engineer, I have to take their word, and I do appreciate the profession. Don't get me wrong. Our county engineer out there, I think, will back that up, that I do appreciate all that he tells me, and I try to learn. But I also know that I'm seeing areas where, when at the county, that the area that we looked at may be okay, but what's happening is, as the development has really spiraled, that the area around it is also needing to be looked at. And if it's not our current regulation, then I understand. No further questions.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I'd like to say one more thing, please.
All right.
Again, people are gravely concerned. This gentleman stated about my land on my east side that has trees that were put there to help save the crop. I will assure you, in my rules and regulations, when and if I do sell that back portion, I will leave all the trees like they currently are, not to affect, supposedly could affect some people if I take the trees out. I will put in the documents and rules and regulations and present it to the county. I will not touch the trees on the east side of my property that could possibly cause anybody any problem.
All right, sir. Thank you. right, now that we've got the public hearing over, we need to talk about whether or not we have a motion dealing with case S21047 Blackwater Farm subdivision. Yes? Oh, excuse me. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I interrupt just a moment here, what I want to do is put the slide up with your motion options.
Yes, because we do have three, I understand.
Yeah, and thank you for letting me interject there, Chairman.
Certainly, certainly. Recall that the chair cannot make a motion or a second. So do we have a motion dealing with S21047 and any of the three options, the third of which would be to modify? All right. Hearing no motion.
I want to ask, can I ask you a question, Matthew?
Got a question.
What's option 3 do?
So option 3 is in the regulations, and it's hard to contemplate an application. However, in the discussion that took place here today, I think one option here could be to remand this to the Planning Commission with additional items added to the plat to note some of the protections regarding the trees and things to ensure that perhaps those covenants were recorded as part of the plat instead of just an assurance from the property owner here. So that might be one option for item number 3 on here.
So it would go back in front of the Planning Commission again, the Planning and Zoning Commission again?
I think that we would have, I'm going to defer to Brad here, but it's a pretty broad language in what's allowed here. I think that modification could be to either, you could either modify it on the spot, I believe, or you could send it back and ask them to consider, because there would have to be some review with planning staff to incorporate that properly into the plat, and then recommend that modification to be reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission or denied by the Planning Commission.
I guess that would be in the form of some sort of buffer reflected on the plat where trees will be left in place and whatnot. Is that Mr. Blanchard, is that something you would object to, Mr. Sutley?
I'm sorry. Can't hear you.
Would y'all object to the plat being remanded back to the Planning Commission to reflect a buffer on the plat to protect the trees that you just promised?
We'll show that the trees are there. We're going to leave the trees on the back. Trees in the front, I will leave if possible not to affect the runoff. But the problem with the runoff, please understand, you've got 18-inch pipe feeding 234-inch pipes trying to go on the Highway 85 heading west. That is not my problem. But I'm happy to leave the trees on the east part of my property and work very closely not to affect any drainage problems on lot 1, which is my south side.
So if option 3 were to be pursued, the way I would phrase that, and look to Brad to this, is that you would modify the Planning Commission's decision to the extent that you're reversing their decision, but then remanding it back to them to review these extra conditions and reconsider it with these extra conditions in mind. So you would be modifying their decision just to remove the denial, but not approving it. You would be remanding it for consideration with these other.
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion.
All right, so we have a motion relative to our third option to modify as presented by Matthew Brown. And I can't say what you said, but I know, I think everybody understands that what we're talking about is incorporating the items that have been mentioned here that evidently either has not been mentioned before or has not been thought of as a major component. So with this motion to add that and make this part of our third option, we have a motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to go to option 3, to modify and document. And I think that's part of the key is you put things in writing and then they're bound to the land, not just to the person who said them. So we've got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Hold on a second. Let's do a roll call.
Commissioner Ball?
Aye.
Commissioner Davis?
Aye.
Commissioner Underwood?
No.
Commissioner Gruber?
No.
All right, that is a stalemate. That way, it's in effect, that motion is not approved. So, our position now,
So since that motion has failed, then another motion can be entertained?
that's correct.
I would like to make a comment, though. I'm not sure that we can enforce covenants.
What has that got to do with whether we need that motion or not?
I was making a comment based on the previous vote, but go ahead.
Okay. Do you have a motion to present before us? Okay, hearing none, is there any other motions to be presented? So what we've done here is rediscussed, and without either option 1 or 2, Brad, what's the status of this project?
If there can't be a motion either way by majority of the commission, then the planning commission's decision would stand as made at their last meeting.
I would like to ask my colleagues, why can't somebody make a motion other than myself? I mean, we're here today to make a motion
I'll
on this
make a
case.
motion to affirm the decision of the Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Commission and deny the development permit for case number S-21047 Blackwater Farm subdivision.
All right, we've got a motion. Do I hear a second? We've got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
Nay. So we're where we were and where we are.
So if there's a 2-2 deadlock, then it stands as decided by the planning commission.
Okay. Having dealt with our planning and zoning topics, let's go to items E, committee reports.
Mr. Chairman, next item is payment of the bills.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we pay bills totaling $19,524,814.65, with the exception of those vendors commissioners request to be pulled, which are none at this time. Of this amount, $9,789,965.18 is payable to the Baldwin County Board of Education, and $607,309.67 is payable to the Gulf Shores Board of Education for their portions of the county sales and use tax.
We have a motion by the finance chairman. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve bills presented by the finance chairman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, next item is the notification of interim payments. Staff recommendation is to make the attached interim payments made by the clerk treasurer totaling $2,419,739.74 and make that part of the record. And then, Mr. Chairman, we're down to commissioner requests.
All right.
I don't have any requests.
Any requests, Jeff? Skip, any requests?
No
Billy Joe?
requests.
I have none either.
Mr. Chairman, next are the addendums. HA1 has been requested to be pulled. HA1 is being requested to be pulled. This is regarding the lease for the old 911 building, and that will be brought back at a future date, Mr. Chairman. Next on the agenda is on the addendums is HA2. This is for Tyler Technologies, purchase of asset performance module. As we discussed at the work session yesterday, Mr. Nunley and Mr. Peacock addressed that at the work session. Staff recommends approval of this addendum item.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve item number HA2, Tyler Technologies.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve item HA2. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, as you may recall also, HA3 was regarding the use of the Central Annex parking lot. City of Robertsville has requested this to be pulled as well, so that will not be up for a topic, which brings us down to our last addendum. This is regarding the United States Department of Agriculture and Wildlife Services regarding the rabies program, and staff's just asking for the Commission's consent for us to work with them as discussed at the work session regarding animals that potentially could have rabies, and working with them to communicate this information to the Department of Agriculture.
I'll make that motion.
We've got a motion and a second to approve HA4, dealing with the Department of Agriculture, Wildlife Services Natural Rabies Management Program. I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next is administrative report. I don't have a report, Mr. Chairman, which brings us down to the county attorney's report.
Yes, sir.
No report. There's one very brief executive session item. Shouldn't take more than 4 or 5 minutes.
All right. Okay.
So when y'all get to the end, just kick it back to me.
I'll defer back to you at that point. Okay, public comments. Do we have anybody left from the public? Looks like it's all our team right now. Okay.
Anthony will have something.
That's right. We do have a member of the general public here, my cuz. All right, cuz. All right, press question. Anybody from the press with any questions or comments? All right, comments from the commissioners. Jeb? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Just kind of touching base on rehashing a kind of a somber week that we had here in Baldwin County with the loss of one of our sheriff deputies, Deputy Bill Smith. Got one of the members of the sheriff's office in here today, Chief Lowry, and it can't go without saying how much we deeply appreciate what y'all do on a day-to-day basis, and being a part of that memorial service was one of the most humbling things I've ever been a part of in my life, and it was an honor to be a part of that. And I think Deputy Smith is smiling down on us, and his send-off was quite appropriate. So I wanted to thank y'all for your service, and our prayers are continued for his family. Thank you.
All right, Skip, do you have comments, sir?
I'd just like to echo what Commissioner Ball had said. You know, that it was a very somber day during that time. But I think one thing I did notice during the thing, you know, after the service was on the inside, and they went outside, and they had the, you know, the taps, and the 21-gun salute, and then they had the ringing of the bell. And right after the casket was loaded into the hearse, it started to rain down on this thing. It's like tears to me. And I did notice some photos later on that just caught my thing, that were people, if you had to see it, people standing out there getting soaking wet. I mean, they never moved. The deputies didn't even have raincoats on. They were standing out there, and they were drenched. And it was, it was something. And the one picture that they showed was when they was coming, the first vehicles were coming up the street, and the blue lights where they were reflecting off of the highway into the sky. It looked like an angel was leading the procession. It was just, it was something else just to see all that. But just the people that came out, and just the general public and along the procession that didn't care if it was raining, they were going to be there. So that was something, and I do, my heart goes out to the family and to the sheriff's department, because, they're like brothers and sisters, and they all stick together, and, they all love one another. So, again, just glad to be part of that also. Thank you.
All right, Billy Joe.
Yes, I don't have a lot I can add to all that's been said, except for that it was very humbling to be there. I think you had to just about have been there to feel what we all felt. And I'm very honored that I was able to attend, and also to learn a lot. The people who knew Deputy Smith and his people that knew him from his previous home up in, I think it was Calhoun County.
Weaver, yeah.
And hear the stories about him. It just resounded all about how that it's so unfortunate that we don't have him here still with us, but I believe that what I heard was that if he could have planned it, he couldn't have planned it any better. But thank you to the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office and all the other entities that were involved that worked so hard to put this event together, and how it just came together, and it just, from my observation, it went off without a hit, without any problem. And for all those that just pull together in a time like this, lets me be proud of Baldwin County, because we stand behind our blue, and I'm thankful for that.
All right, let me say this. Bill Smith used phrases that I had heard a few times, but everybody had heard a lot. And I think they're going to ring true in my heart forever. Things like doing things wide open, be involved every day in every way. And to me, that's what a hero does. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. And he certainly did that. I tear up, and I hope I don't tear up talking about it, but when I hear bagpipes play Amazing Grace, it touches me to the quick, and it did again. I thought it interesting that the Attorney General was in awe of our Coliseum. He said, this thing's just sitting out in the country. And I said, well, we're a big county, and we got a lot of country, but we got some cities as well. But he was very impressed, and it was the perfect venue for such an event, and it took a lot of people doing a lot of things. And things happen because people handle the details behind the scene. But Anthony, as you know, I've got law enforcement in my immediate family, and I've always been blue, and I will always be blue. And it should go without saying that this commission supports and backs the sheriff and all of his people, because none of us get things done just from the top. We're blessed to have staff and support people that know their business, and they don't have to be told to do their job. They do their job. And I think Bill Smith was a classic example of literally doing that. So I too was greatly touched and will be forever touched by that ceremony. On another note, I had a conversation and the opportunity to visit with the Chief of Staff for the Governor, Joe Bonner, and he and I had a good discussion last night on a number of topics. And there are things that we have going on in this county that I think the state may have a new appreciation or a new understanding of how we can all work together. We'll be doing the ribbon cutting at the boat launch on Wednesday, and the governor will be down here. And like I said, Joe and I had several discussions, things like the bridge between Mobile and Baldwin County, the FEMA process, the growth, the infrastructure, the dollars that are available from all sorts of, let me share a number with you, and I don't use the T word very often, but Shirley, correct me, $1.25 or $1.45 trillion over 8 years. Folks, that's thousands, millions, billions, and trillions. That's going to be federal dollars that will be utilized for infrastructure. And I can't think of a better place that all elements of government could invest in than the coastal counties of Mobile and Baldwin County, because we are a major player. We always have been, but we also have to continue to convey that message at every level. So we're trying, and the way we're going to get better is to ask the questions. So let's be mindful of Bill and what he stood for, because he was a hero, died a hero and will be remembered as a hero. So at this point, unless there are other comments, I'd entertain a motion for us to adjourn this meeting.
We got to go into executive session, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me. Sorry, Brad. See, I was getting all caught up in my thoughts.
No problem. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I would recommend that the Commission adopt a motion to adjourn this meeting and convene an executive session for the purpose of discussing with the county attorney options for pending litigation. So there'll need to be a motion and a second. Then I'll make my statement on the record and then a vote.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to go into executive session per the request of our legal attorney.
Okay. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Alabama, and this exception is applicable to the plan discussion. And then after the vote, Mr. Chairman, all you need to do is announce that we will not reconvene.
All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous, and we will not convene after our executive session. Thank you all very much.